Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. First and foremost, all praises and thanks are due to Allah, the Great and Almighty, that with His blessing we are able to meet online for today's guest lecture. Salawat and salam be upon our Prophet Muhammad and all his family and companion, including us as his followers. Hopefully we can all get his syafaat on the day of resurrection. Amin. Before we start the agenda, I'd like to humbly welcome the Honorable Founder and CEO of LBB International, Professor Dr. Tieman, Honorable the Head of Syariah Economics Department, IPB University, Dr. Asep Nurhalim LC MPDI, Honorable the Secretary of Syariah Economics Department, IPB University, Dr. Laili Dwi Arsyanti, PhD, Honorable all of the lecturers of Syariah Economics Department, IPB University, and all the respectable participants in today's guest lecture. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Aramade Latifah Wahid Putri, and I will be your Master of Ceremony today. Now let's start the agenda by reciting Surah Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Ar-Rahmanirrahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Next, we will hear the welcoming speech, which will be delivered by the Secretary of Syariah Economics Department, IPB University, to Dr. Laili Dwi Arsyanti, PhD. The time and screen is yours.
Thank you, Dea. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening, very good morning, all. All praises are due to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, the Lord of the Universe, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah. I have the pleasure to welcome the Honorable Professor Tieman, who currently based in Malaysia. Prof. Dr. Tieman is the founder of the Logistic Building Blocks International, where their offices are in the Netherlands, Malaysia, and Indonesia. It is a supply chain strategy consulting and research firm. And it is indeed very much related with halal industry, which we are now studying about the economics of halal industry and the management of halal products. Alhamdulillah, we have all the instructors here, the lecturers. Ms. Tita Nursansyah is the coordinator of economics of halal industry course for our students in their second year. And Ms. Ranti Wilyasi, the coordinator of Management of Halal Products course for our students in their third year. We also have Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Irfani, who I believe was your moderator during ISEF last year, held by Bank Indonesia, and also have Dr. Resfal Fitri here. And it is an honor for us to have you here, Prof. Mr. Shamsia is the IUM graduate, and so do I. Therefore, we very much more or less familiar with the Malaysia's ambition to be the global halal hub, and they are very concerned with halal industry. So we need to learn from Malaysia. Yeah. I remember I visited University of Malaya, a halal research center. I believe you are also the fellow researcher there, Prof.
Yeah, that's correct.
We visited there with Professor Irwandi Jasmir's team. Professor Irwandi Jasmir is our senior, the IPB graduate. But unfortunately, at the time we didn't meet you, or maybe you haven't been in the UM at that time, 2017, 2018, Prof. Okay. And Indonesia, as you all know, that Indonesia is the biggest Muslim population, and the government opened the opportunity for the players of halal industry to drive the production, the production growth, and become the key players in the global halal industry. And with this promising potential. The development of halal industry in Indonesia is very important to support especially the sustainable economic growth as reported by Bank Indonesia by the end of last year. Around 184 billion US dollar consumers spent in 2020. Indonesia represents the largest halal consumer market, but it is that is actually our biggest problem. We are becoming the largest consumer, but we aim to be the largest producer. We import more halal products than export the halal products. While in the meantime, we can produce our own local products and spend more often. And talking about halal products, it includes food, fashion, pharmacies, cosmetics, media, tourism, and financial sector. And we are now in the 9th phase of halal player in the OIC countries. Prof, I do apologize because I have another agenda for this, but I believe our students will enjoy and have the pleasure through your lecture and discussion, and maybe the opportunity to contact you personally, Prof, as the expert of halal supply chain. I personally, and on behalf of Department of Islamic Economics and our head of department, Dr. Halim, would like to thank you very much, and may Allah bless all of us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dea.
Thank you, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Laili, for your insightful speech. And now we're moving on to the main agenda. That is the guest lecture, which will be moderated by Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Irfani, SEM APPEC. To Mr. Iqbal, the time and screen is yours.
Thank you, Dea. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wassalatu ala Rasulillah Muhammad bin Abdullah wa ala alihi washabihi wa mawala. Welcome everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for today guest lecture that will be delivered by Professor Marco Tieman. My name is perhaps you don't remember recognize me. My name is Muhammad Iqbal Irfani. I'm a lecturer at IPB University, Department of Islamic Economics, and along with us is also as Prof, Dr. Laili mentioned to you, Prof. Tieman, is also the staff or the lecture team. For this is basically two subjects. Is management of halal products and economics of halal industry. In Indonesia, but all for undergraduate students. And I will host this guest lecture. The time is Halal Business Management. Is correct, Prof. Tieman? And alhamdulillah, we have a very credible and reputable presenter. He is Prof. Marco Tieman. How are you, Prof. Tieman? It's good.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. Iqbal, for inviting me. It's a great honor.
Yeah. And before we start the lecture, let me introduce you the CV of Professor Marco Tieman. He is basically founder and professor at LBB International and Halal University. Professor Tieman is the founder of LBB International as a consulting and research firm specialized in supply chain strategy. He advises clients in the area of procurement, production, and supply chain management. He has office in Netherlands, Malaysia, and also a project office in Indonesia. You have a project in Indonesia. Good. And one of his specialization LBB specialization is on halal production, halal supply chain management, and halal reputation management. He's also professor at Health University in charge of research on halal supply chain management and halal risk and reputation management. He teach issues in optimizing operation management, and also he is also a young professor with University Malaysia Pahang, focusing on halal, on research on halal blockchain. That's good. Yeah, we can ask him about halal blockchains. Is the trending topics now in halal supply chain management. Professor Tieman has a Master of Science in Industrial Engineering and Management Science and Logistics from the University of Twente in the Netherlands, and PhD in Business Management, focusing on halal supply chain management from the University Technology Maret. I think because the time is limited, I think, but for just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any question, just or during presentation, please type them into question box, or we can also make it by raise hand after the lectures. Which you prefer? I think you lecture first and question and answer.
I think halfway after the halal supply chain and value chain, we can have a Q&A.
Okay.
And then we continue, and at the end we have a second Q&A, so we can split it. Otherwise, it's too long.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And for the students, if you raise a question and type, you have additional mark for your for your degree. Yeah. Okay. I think we thought without further ado, we will turn to the time for the Professor Tieman. Professor Tieman, time is yours.
Dr. Iqbal, thank you very much. A very good morning to everybody. May peace be upon you. It's a great honor to speak at this function at IPB University, IPB University in Indonesia, as a leading university and also an important department, a contribution to Syariah economy. I've been very privileged also to be working with Dr. Iqbal, also on a joint research paper. And I look forward to being working very closely in future also with IPB University in this important research. During the COVID period, when COVID struck, I thought I need a new project. I had to sit at home, not being to go out is horrible. So I wrote a book, the book on Halal Business Management. And so what I would like to share with you is a little bit of my passion on this topic, to bring Halal excellence to the world. And if you talk about halal, if you are in the halal industry, creating halal products or halal services, a halal certification is the bar minimum. You need to reach for halal excellence. So I hope to infect you a little bit with the halal excellence virus this morning, which is much better than the COVID virus. So embrace this one. So I will be talking about a few topics in particular, which I think are important for halal business management. First of all, you have to understand the helicopter perspective, that halal is not static. Halal is moving towards halal supply chain and value chain. That's important. Secondly, we're going to talk about halal certification. Some perspectives on my side. I've been working with multinational companies and local companies to get them halal certified. Then we talk about the halal supply chain and value chain, an emerging requirement. You should know more about it. After that, we have a Q&A session about those topics. After the Q&A session break, we move into halal branding and halal risk and reputation management. So I hope you enjoy these sessions, and if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box. All right, let's make a start. Evolution of halal. What is halal about? So all of us are very knowledgeable about the Holy Quran. So in chapter 2, verse 168, we learn O you people, eat of what is on earth, lawful and good, halal and tayyib, and do not follow the footsteps of the evil one. So this is an important reference to halal. Interesting to note is that in the Holy Quran, the word halal is never put in isolation. It's always halal and tayyib. My dear friend, who unfortunately passed away, and maybe some of you have heard about him, Abdulhamid Evans. He was quite fundamental also in the halal developments in Malaysia, also founded the World Halal Forum. In one of his speeches at the World Halal Forum, he created a great definition. What is halal about? He said, it's a portion of God's gift to mankind, lawful, wholesome, safe, healthy, pleasing, halal and tayyib. He also says that halal is not just about the end product, it's about the entire process from beginning until end. It is an entire process perspective. It's also a trust. Trust is important in halal for the Muslim consumer. It needs to be able to trust the products and services that are labeled halal. It's also an honor and responsibility for Muslims, not only to consume, but equally also to produce. And I think that is an important challenge now for Indonesia. An opportunity is also highlighted by the president, Pak Jokowi of Indonesia, that wants to turn Indonesia in a global production hub. Indonesia today, as also shared in the introduction, is the largest halal market, but can also be the largest and should be, I think, the largest producer of halal in the world. So halal is not static. Halal is going through evolution. In my research, I described 4 important stages. Stage 1 is the Muslim company, where a Muslim is buying from another Muslim, can be a butchery or food shop. And because the owner is a Muslim, you trust that everything he or her is selling is halal. In the second stage, we have BPAPH, certifying a product or service halal, that shows that the ingredients, components, production process is all in compliance to the HAS 23,000, the Indonesian halal standard. So the trust is not anymore based on who's the owner of the company, but based at an independent halal certification body, verified that the ingredients are halal, production process halal, and the halal insurance system is into place. Several leading halal countries, including Indonesia, is moving to stage 3, the halal supply chain, where halal needs to be addressed from source all the way to the point of consumer purchase. The 4th stage is the halal value chain. This is future music, where I will be more sharing later what the halal value chain is about. It also includes elements like Islamic banking, also sustainability, halal branding and marketing. So this is far more comprehensive and has big implications for the company. So what is important for companies to understand, where do I stand along the evolution of halal? Am I still at level 1? I'm not halal certified, which can be dangerous if you're serving Muslim markets. Am I at level 2? I carry the MUI or BPA halal logo, but I have not looked beyond halal certification. And as Indonesia is moving towards stage 3, there is a gap if you're still at stage 2 and Indonesia is moving to stage 3. Or am I already at stage 3? Or even at stage 4, if you're really good at creating a total halal ecosystem, which is, I think, a big challenge for a lot of companies. So in my book, I'm sharing more about halal excellence. So if you want to be successful in the halal industry, the halal certification is the bottom, the minimum requirement, but you have to focus on creating that level of excellence. So halal excellence, from my perspective, is a process. It's not a relaxing journey, it's hard work. It's a process, a pursuit of excellence, in Islam also known as ihsan. Yeah. So what is the purpose or the goal of Halal Excellence is to serve humanity with products and services that are lawful and good, halal and tayyib. I established a Halal Excellence philosophy, which is based on 7 important components. So the first component is no compromises on inputs. That can be ingredients, the machines you're using, the tools you're using, but also the people are so important, because at the end in production and services, you work with your staff. So people is extremely important. So training is important. That's why it's also important that IPB University is offering this knowledge to students, that the new generation are well educated on halal and tayyib. No compromises also on processes. So Halal Excellence is based on process excellence. So also no compromises on processes. So Halal Excellence is also important by design. So when you develop your halal assurance system, your halal supply chain blueprint, your branding, marketing, and risk and reputation management, halal should be well addressed. And when you design your blueprint, it's important that you practice well. So reputation makes perfect. Repetition makes perfect. So not only in sports, but also in the halal industry. You need to manage well your entire supply chain and also your corporate reputation. This needs the establishment of key performance indicators. So KPIs are extremely important. And I've done a lot of work with multinational companies, with local companies on halal. And what I often see is that there are no proper key performance indicators in place with halal companies. So they have KPIs by top management on profit, maybe on sustainability, UN sustainability development goals, but not on halal, and that needs to change. You need to establish the best team also in your company, but also working with supply chain partners. So that can be suppliers, but also your distributors, your logistics service providers, and the retailers you're working with. Engagement with the consumer is important. So in Indonesia, you also have a Muslim association, maybe different parts. So you have different Muslim organization associations. So it's important to establish a good relationship with those Muslim associations, consumer representative bodies in major Muslim markets where you're operating. Finally, also it's important to have that balance with nature, also known in Islam as mizan, where you establish SOPs also related to waste, water management. How can you make use of sustainable energy and reduce your wastage? So there are a lot of climate change programs which are also implemented by governments. And also it's important to have this perspective on green. And I read a great book, I believe from 2010 or 2011, from Ibrahim Abdul Martin, an American Muslim. And he wrote a book about the Green Deen, what Islam teaches about protecting the planet. Great book about food, about consumption, waste, energy, and energy. So a great reference. I think I highly recommend students to read if they want to know more about the relationship between Islam and sustainability and protecting the planet. It might be in your library already. So Halal Excellence is important. So my question to the industry players and the students, are you ready for Halal Excellence? So what are the important trends in the halal industry? So first of all, there's an endemic shortage of halal ingredients and additives with the right halal standards. So if you need to buy, for example, vanilla, the whole vanilla market is quite big. But vanilla is conventionally extracted through alcohol, which is an issue from a halal perspective. So the Halal vanilla is only a part of that vanilla market. And then you need to get vanilla, if you are halal certified, which is recognized by the Indonesian Halal Authority. That's even a smaller part of the market. And so there's a big shortage of halal ingredients and additives in the market. So that's why Indonesia, I think, can also play a big role in here. There's also lack of production. So what you see now is that a lot of Muslim majority countries are dependent on imports from non-Muslim countries for the even basic food products. And you see now the war in the Ukraine, and that it has big implications because they are a big supplier of grain and a lot of agriculture commodities. So there is a problem that a lot of Muslim countries do not have a solid agriculture sector and production and value adding in the country. This is recognized also by Pak Jokowi in Indonesia, and he's been doing everything to change this in Indonesia. And Indonesia, from my perspective, can make a big impact in not only being a big agriculture producer, but also do the value adding of agriculture products in Indonesia itself. We see that the top halal brands today are also the top conventional brands. So the biggest halal food brand in the world is Nestle, for example. So where are the big brands from Muslim majority countries? So there is an opportunity for Indonesia to create those new global multinational brands in food, but also cosmetics and fashion, for example. And create a bigger role in the halal value chain, so also as supply of ingredients, also in trading, and maybe even creating a new restaurant chain. So halal industry is currently highly fragmented. There's a lot of SMEs are involved, and also micro SMEs in Indonesia. So they have difficulty, what I see, in upscaling to become bigger, to make that switch from SME to large, and from large to multinational. And one of the reasons there's a lack of collaboration also among companies. We see that halal is moving in the evolution of halal towards the halal supply chain and value chain, which is far more complex to manage for companies. I've been very privileged to be the project director of Modern Halal Valley in Indonesia, which is a 500 hectares halal industrial cluster developed in Banten, Cikande. It's about 1 hour drive west from Jakarta, where we are creating a comprehensive halal ecosystems to allow for collaboration of supply chains, between supply chains, within your own supply chain, and to create those synergy advantages to allow you to simplify halal production and create a halal supply chain and value chain. So next to Modern Halal Valley, there are also other halal parks being developed in Indonesia as we speak. So these will be important infrastructure for businesses to set up their production plant and to expand further within a halal ecosystem. So where are the opportunities from my perspective for Indonesia? I think the opportunities in farming to create agriculture commodities, sustainable, organic, meeting animal welfare, and also get it halal certified. And today, not all agriculture producers are halal certified. So I think that's a lost opportunity there. So get it halal certified. Next to creating farm products, also do value adding into ingredients and additives, where what I mentioned earlier, there's a shortage of, and create a new big brands in food, cosmetics. Wardah is, I think, a great example of Indonesia cosmetics rising star, which is also available, well available in Malaysia. So creating consumer products, develop also halal logistics and supply chain services, transportation, warehousing, and also port terminal services, and also play a role in Indonesia food trading and restaurant chains that are also established outside Indonesia. I come from the Netherlands, and of course we have a lot of Indonesian restaurants in Holland. But to my surprise, if you ask where do you get your product from, they work with Thai traders. So at the end, you're eating Indonesian food, but origin from often Thai food products. So that's a pity. So I think an opportunity for industry to explore into. All right. So the second topic I would like to share with you is about Halal certification. And so the basis of Halal certification is the Halal assurance system. And so in my definition, the Halal assurance system is an integrated management system which is developed, implemented and maintained to manage purchase and procurement, your production and processing of Halal products, the handling of products in the warehouse and at the production, and also the final distribution to the consumer. And with e-commerce, it might be even right to the doorstep of the consumer. This should be in accordance with the Halal standard. So you establish a Halal assurance system meeting the requirements of one or multiple Halal standards. So I've been working with companies that are certified by not one, but multiple Halal certification boards and carrying multiple Halal logos. So it's good to recognize that the Halal assurance system is founded on the quality management system. So Halal and Tayyip comes together also in the Halal certification. And the biggest problem of SMEs and also micro SMEs is not necessarily the Halal assurance system side, but it is the quality management system side. So it is difficult to establish a Halal assurance system when there is no quality system in place. And so the biggest challenge is often a base level of quality, hygiene, and food practices also in the factory. So that's important to realize. In my work to assist companies in Halal certification, first step is also to establish a solid Halal strategy. And so what are your marketing goals? Which markets you want to serve? So that's an important starting point. Also, to create a strategy for your procurement, your purchasing of your ingredients, your components, your production strategy, more on that later, and also your logistics. Important to establish that first of all. So what is the most suitable Halal certificate to have? Should we have one Halal certificate, and which one? From Indonesia, from Malaysia, or there's choice. There's also international Halal standards are being developed in the OIC SMIC based in Turkey. And what is your corporate Halal policy? So these are important first considerations which you need to address when you want to look at Halal certification. First of all, your Halal strategy to make the right choice for also which Halal certificate would be most beneficial for your company. What we then do is a zero-based assessment. So we assess the materials. And so in Indonesia, we have a team of chemists, also from previous Majelis Ulama Indonesia, that are going through the material list. So if you need to approve ingredients you're using for your production process, you need to make sure that the lab reports are there, ingredient list, and many more documents. Some products also need, of course, a Halal certificate, which is recognized by a Halal certification body. And then we manage it, and we reflect those ingredients and components and see, we call that red item management, if there are any issues, so ingredients, components that are not allowed to be used, or do not have the right documentation, or do not have the right Halal certificate. So that might be a change of suppliers required, or suppliers that need to change certification, to change the Halal certificate. We also assess their operations, if there are any non-compliances in there. if there are any non-halal products also being produced at that same factory, but also in the process to make that product, if there are any non-compliances. It can be simple thing like having a cleaning brush with pig hair or something, or having other non-compliances of certain oils that are being used that are non-halal, and it can be a whole range of non-compliances, or even what is done in the lab to check the products. The third component is the halal assurance documentation. So you need to establish a halal management team. You need to establish the facility design specification, the layout of the facility, also with a quarantine area in there. And of course, the halal assurance documentation in accordance with the requirements of your halal certification body, or halal certification bodies, in case you have multiple halal certification bodies you're using for your certification. Then the implementation. So you need to train your staff. What we always do, we train the trainers, and the trainers will train the staff. You need to prepare the operations before going to a halal production or service environment. It takes 1 month. Normally, after 1 month, you need about 3 months of track records that you have been working according to your halal assurance system, and then you can go into the halal certification application. And then when you certify through BPPH, it takes about 2.5 months, max 3 months before certification, before you get certified. So the Indonesian halal authority is quite efficient. So it's about 3 months upon application. That can be very different if you also look at all the halal certification boards. It can take much longer. So I think this is very good for Indonesia to have a quite short certification lead time. In halal certification, animal-based ingredients are always a big issue. We have been working with cosmetics companies that were focusing on the Indian market. Vegan is very important. So it made halal certification much easier. Technically, the use of any animal components is prohibited, technically. So it's always a red flag for halal certification bodies. If you use animal component, often the halal certification body wants to have an inspection at your supplier, or even the slaughtering house. That might be even before that supplier in the supply chain. So it's always by definition red flag. So any animal components, ingredients you would like to avoid can only be used under strict conditions, in the slaughtering conditions, certain slaughtering requirements, but also certain components of the animals can be used, other ones cannot be used. And so halal certification is much easier with less animal-based products. So Halal Excellence is also trying to remove as much as possible the animal out of the ingredients, only in areas where it's really, really needed. When you're establishing your halal management team and also your organization side, don't take this lightly. There are different responsibilities where you should look at, and not only the responsibility of the halal management team. And so the halal management team is responsible for the implementation of the halal assurance system, and also the application with the halal certification body. But there's more. There are more responsibilities in our organization. So first of all, top management. So top management, they need to establish the halal certification strategy. That should be carried and supported by them, which should also come together with also KPIs, key performance indicators at the highest level, should be monitored by top management. Second aspect is your board risk committee or risk management is important. So they are responsible for the decision to certify or not. And also they need to have a proper halal risk reporting for every board meeting. And I've been working with multinationals to create those halal risk reporting for top management. Marketing is another important area where they are responsible for the halal logo and branding halal. And so the decision to certify is with risk management, to show or not to show and how to show the halal logo, that decision is made by marketing, right? And not by any other part. It's good to realize that the responsibility of halal is in different areas of the company. To share with you some example, we have been very privileged assisting a multinational cosmetics company to get certified. So we established a halal strategy, first of all. We designed for them the halal assurance system, also helped them in the implementation up to certification. So for them, we simplified halal and we choose to use the Indonesian halal standard globally. So until today, there are more than 35 plants already all over the world halal certified, and we assisted many of those plants the first year to get them certified, and the other plants have been done by the company itself. So it's important to simplify halal standard use. So if you're using multiple halal standards, multiple halal certificates, you increase the complexity of halal exponentially, because every halal standard has its own list of which halal certification bodies are recognized. So you need to, when you're using multiple halal standards, you need to see which halal certification bodies are recognized by both organizations. So the more different bodies you use, the more complex is it for procurement to source ingredients that are meeting the requirements from all those different halal certification bodies. So we simplified it to one. Then getting the right information from the suppliers. We thought that the multinational, we asked some information from the suppliers, they will do that the same day. They will be very pleased to facilitate. That was not the case. So the suppliers were very difficult to release information. It became endangering our lead time, in fact, of the certification. So we escalated the request of information from those suppliers to head office in order to ensure that those suppliers were facilitating all the information needed. So we had to escalate it to the highest level of the procurement organization. When you are having a big company, you have different brands. You can only certify, carry a halal logo on a brand when all the products under that brand are halal certified. You cannot have part of your brand halal certified and part of it not available in the same market. And so some brands, they are produced at different factories. So in that case of this multinational, they had a factory of a shampoo in Indonesia and in Thailand and in Vietnam. So we could only share that we are halal certified for that shampoo brand if all three production plants were halal certified. So that is important to recognize. We have to do parallel certification of the different plants for one brand. Secondly, you also have to look at, okay, which brands first? So maybe the high volume brands first and the low volume specialized brands later. We also have in every cosmetic products or home care product, washing powder, there's a smell, right? That's called a perfume. So this multinational company also had perfume plants. So in order to get the consumer product certified, we also need to get the perfume plant halal certified. The tricky part with the perfumes was in the perfume plant, many perfumes are created. These are creative people. I mean, and they also giving names to perfumes. So that was an issue because there were no guidelines on giving names. So you might have a name Miss Piggy or Sexy Lady or red wine or champagne or beer or pork or so they were all given strange, some of them were strange names which were considered non-halal names, right? So we in order to get us perfume certified, the name of the perfume had to be halal also, although if you say it was red wine, it has nothing to do with red wine, that perfume. It was just a name given. So to change a name in a multinational company of a product of that perfume was a very tough exercise. So it's also important that you create guidelines on what names you give to your products and services, because they have implications on the certification of that product or service. We also looked at the logistics operation. So they had one warehouse, which was owned by the cosmetic company, but it was operated by a logistics service provider. So in our design, we also wanted the national distribution center to be Halal certified. So the operator needs to be Halal certified. So we gave a notice to the logistics service provider, get your operations Halal certified for our national distribution center, or get out. The choice is yours, right? So this is, I think, an important case to show you how complex a Halal certification project can be. And so with multinational companies, you're dealing with Muslim and non-Muslim countries. So for some markets, Halal certification is a must-have. For others, it might not be a must-have. You work with high volume mass market products, very low volume specialized brands. So which one do you start first? Animal-based, as you have some animal-based products and non-animal-based products. So with non-animal-based products are easier to certify as compared to animal-based products. Foods might have a higher Halal certification urgency than non-food. In Indonesia, by October 2024, food needs to be Halal certified in Indonesia for locally produced and imported items, non-food later. So that might also be important in your phasing decisions for big companies. And then complexity of production. So we have simple products. Food products are often more simple as compared to cosmetics or perfumes, which are even far more complex. You might have single production sites that make a product versus multiple production sites. Then you need to do parallel certification, which is always increasing your certification lead time. So these are some experiences I would like to share with you regarding Halal certification I've been working with. All right, then the third topic before our Q&A. So if you have questions, put them in already in your chat, and after this we go through them, is on Halal supply chain and value chain. So what is the goal of Halal supply chain and Halal supply chain management? It is the management of an entire network with the goal of extending Halal integrity from the source. It can be the farmer or the supplier of the product, all the way to the point of consumer purchase, where you as consumer are eating in the restaurant, or where you as consumer are buying your product from the supermarket, Indomart, Alfamart, or when you order your product online via one of the e-commerce portals in Indonesia. You order a product, they bring it to your house, right? Then that point of consumer purchase is the doorstep, where the service delivery person gives you the food or the cosmetic product. So e-commerce is an important new development, which has increasing a lot in Indonesia, which should not be forgotten. And I think there are a lot of challenges, I think, for the years to come on getting compliance until e-commerce even. So a question I often get is, how is Halal supply chain management different from conventional logistics and supply chain management? So first of all, in Halal logistics and Halal supply chain management, it is about segregation of Halal from non-Halal in the entire supply chain, in transportation, warehousing, and production. So Halal should not be mixed with non-Halal products, such as pork products, alcoholic beverages, or meat that are not Halal certified, or pharmaceutical products that contain porcine ingredients components. Secondly, Halal needs to be well communicated in the supply chain, so on freight documents, on product labels, And also in IT systems, we need to clearly communicate that the product has a halal status. So in this example below, you see a photo of IPC Logistics, a part of Palindo Group. They established a halal logistics center and halal logistics services had to supply dedicated halal warehousing and dedicated halal transportation throughout Indonesia. So they have established that system of segregation, halal only in warehousing and transportation, and also clearly communicate halal in their supply chain, in their freight documents, IT and product labels. So that is how halal supply chain is different. In my research, I established the foundation of halal supply chain management, consisting of three important components. Why halal supply chain management? What are the fundamentals? So first of all, you need to avoid cross-contamination, so which is based on direct contact with something halal with something forbidden, haram, like alcoholic products, products containing porcine, and so on. So how to address this is through proper packaging, primary packaging of the products. And a lot of items are packed with in plastic or paper or a can or tin. The second component is risk of contamination. Now, you would like to avoid the halal product to come in a status of a gray area where we don't know it's halal, because in Islam, when we are not sure if it is halal, we are asked to stay away from, right? So we have to avoid products going into that state of we don't know it is halal, that gray area. So how to avoid proper the risk of contamination? By physically segregating halal from the non-halal and communicating that the halal status of the product. The third element, which is also important, is perception. The perception of the Muslim consumer is shaped by the Islamic school of thought, also fatwas, legal rulings, and also local customs. So Indonesia perception is different from the Malaysian perception of the Muslim consumer, different from Brunei, although your neighboring countries all in the Shafi'i school of thought. So you have to address perception when you're doing business in Muslim majority countries. So when you are sending your products to Malaysia, within Indonesia, to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you need to address all those three, including perception. When you're exporting, however, your products to non-Muslim countries, like Singapore, Thailand, Europe, America, you only need to address direct contact with haram and risk of contamination. From a helicopter level, these are the basic guidelines for halal logistics and supply chain. So if you're dealing with Muslim majority countries, it is halal only in transportation and storage, right? So in a truck, in a sea container, in a warehouse, only halal products. So non-halal products are not allowed to be put in that same warehouse or same container for export or same truck. Yeah? When you're dealing with non-Muslim countries for bulk products that do not carry that primary packaging, that can be grains or cocoa butter, palm oil, these are bulk products, also halal only. Yeah? For products that are packed, we call it unitized. And for dry products, you are allowed to have also non-halal products in that same warehouse or container, but they need to be proper segregated. They should not be put on the same pallet or load carrier, but they can be put in the same warehouse or container. For cool chain products, which is more sensitive because there's close air circulation in there, moisture development, it's not allowed to put products in that are severe najis, meaning porcine based in that same warehouse or the same transportation unit. Yeah? Halal should also be only on a specialized load carriers or pallets. So this is a helicopter view of what are the base guidelines. And in my research, I also created consensus among halal certification bodies on those base halal supply chain scenarios. As I mentioned, halal is moving from a halal product towards a halal value chain beyond the supply chain. So in here, we need to look at far more components, also looking at Sharia compliant infrastructure, that is Islamic finance, takaful, the Sharia compliant insurance, also wakaf. And it can also be part of your Sharia compliant infrastructure for you or your SMEs. Human resource management, training is important, talent development, sustainability, what I shared earlier, the green deal, many components, and should be addressed, I think, also for halal value chain. Procurement is one of the most complex functions. We don't go much more in detail here, but during the masterclass I'm doing, there's always one special session on halal procurement, and that is critical, mission critical for companies that are getting halal certified. Below the logistics, halal branding, marketing, halal services, and furthermore, zakat is important, but also halal risk and reputation management. So this is for one company. When you're dealing in a supply chain with your suppliers and distributors and retailers, it becomes far more complex, right? You also need to look at the halal value chain with your suppliers and with your distributors. So then it becomes far more complex. So there's an opportunity, I think, to operate from halal parks and to simplify that halal value chain. It becomes very complex without a proper support from halal industrial parks. I would like to share with you, before we go to the Q&A, some example of DB Schenker. I've been very privileged to be working with DB Schenker on halal certification and developing also halal services with them. They created the video. I hope you can see. The sound is not really important, but have a close look at this video. So I want to know what is striking you. I try to play it twice, a little bit slowly, internet. I tried earlier. So give me a little bit of time. I'll just play it again. So look at the logistics operation. Look at the symbols, what people are wearing, and look at it again one more time. Yeah? Thank you so much. So maybe now we have time for some questions on the first topics I gave on evolution of halal, and also halal certification and halal supply chain and value chain. I was most pleased to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Tieman. It's very interesting presentation. lecture, and I think there are so many many questions. Yeah, I think it's better for them to just recite again the question. It's okay for
Yeah.
for this Iqbal Zikri and also Fikra Yafi and also Arta and Dafa. Yeah, to just recite again the question. Please, Mas Iqbal, Mas Yafi, for the question.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's an honor for me. I actually have one question for you. I want to know something from your perspective. Do you see a way to make Muslims aware of the importance of halal certification, about not only ensuring that the product is halal, but also to increase the competitiveness of the product in the international market, especially for Indonesian products? Because as we know, the majority of Indonesian is Muslim and the biggest in the world. But as a producer of halal product, we were not on number one yet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your question. Good question. I think what was missing in a lot of universities was to have the topic of halal business management. So I think IPB University is one of the few universities that's offering this knowledge to students. I think that's great, a great example. So I think you as a young student, I think you should make the difference and share that knowledge you have gained during your study at IPB University with your colleagues, friends, and also the next industries where you're working. So I think halal business management should be part of the curricula of universities. So if you're doing your MBA, halal business management should be part of that. And I'm still coming across so many universities where the MBA is a conventional MBA and nothing learned about halal. So I think we need to educate the new generation through our education system. That's one. Also, we need to educate brand owners, so manufacturers. So there has been a traditional easy approach that say, well, if I open my restaurant, people will come anyhow, Indonesians. They come anyhow to my restaurant. Why should I take the effort to get halal certified? So I think the decision made by the Indonesian government was a right one to say, make halal certification mandatory. So I really applaud the decision of the Indonesian government. And Indonesia is the first country in the world that had made that bold decision by October 2024 to make it mandatory. So that put pressure, I think, on the industry, because if you leave it to the industry, they might take a relaxed approach. I mean, people are still coming to my restaurant. Why should I spend money? Or why do I make my life difficult to go for certification? So number one, education sector should provide. Secondly, I think by government regulation is important. I think the Muslim society, we have Halal Corner also in Indonesia, a great platform by Ibu Aisyah, who's also sharing knowledge to the Muslim consumer. I think that's also important to have. I think those three. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, I think Mas Fikra Yafi.
Thank you very much, Iqbal, and thank you very much for Prof. Tieman. So there is an issue about the absence of international halal certification that can be applied to all countries. Many studies state that if this certification can be used, the halal industry will be more growth. So my question is, first, is it true that if this certification can be applied, the halal industry will be more growth or accelerate to become halal excellence? And is it possible to be established? Second question, what if it is seen from the supply and value chain side, according to Prof. Tieman? Thank you very much for this opportunity, Prof.
Thank you. Yeah, to come back to your first question, yeah, I think harmonization is important among halal standards. We want to move halal mainstream. We want to have halal available all over the world. So if you go to the Netherlands, you also want to make sure that you can have access to halal products. So harmonization is important to simplify halal for producers. And if the regulation is different, you make it very difficult for multinationals to comply. And so Indonesia, you might have an advantage because Indonesia is the largest halal market. So most multinationals would be able to serve Indonesia. So that's your luck, you know. But if you really want to make halal big and mainstream, available also in other countries, non-Muslim countries, we need to harmonize. This is a new standard from the OIC SMIC. So in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you have the OIC representing all Islamic countries, where Indonesia is a member of. OIC SMIC has been creating new harmonized standards. So this is an example of the OIC SMIC 17 standard for halal supply chain management systems. They're covering 3 modules, transportation, warehousing, and also retailing. So I think that is important. So instead of creating all new standards by each Muslim country, okay, let's try to just adopt that new OIC standard. I think the main sensitivities why there's a lack of collaboration between halal standards and adoption is the slaughtering side. The slaughtering side is very sensitive. And so there are people that Muslim and fatwas regarding to the slaughtering. Can I use stunning? Yes or no? And hand slaughter versus machine slaughter. And so these are important parameters where there are very strong sensitivities. I was privileged at discussing halal standards with different halal certification bodies. And when it happens, when you're in the room with those, they start throwing chairs at each other. It becomes very violent. And they said, you're not a good Muslim because this and this, they cite this, and slaughtering is only, this is halal, and it is very sensitive. So I think on slaughtering, it is tough to create consensus, but then look at the other areas like branding, marketing, look at pharmaceuticals, and look at hotel services, look at logistics. So there are many more areas of halal certification beyond slaughtering. So maybe create consensus first on those easier areas as compared to the slaughtering side. You also talk about the halal value chain. That is future music, I'm afraid, for most brand owners. They might have an Islamic bank account, but that doesn't mean you're already at level 4, you know. So I think that's a way in process. So that is a process you have to work through and do that step by step, get halal certified, move into the supply chain, and then move to the halal value chain. And that is something when you establish a halal strategy is to say a goal, hey, by 2024, I want to be at stage 3, halal supply chain. By 2030, I want to be at level 4, the halal value chain. So put it in a timeline. You can't do this overnight, right? You can't skip phases also. So it is a progressive process, a progressive step. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Vikra and Prof. Tieman. And I think the further question from Arta and Mas Dafa, yeah? You can just ask. Arta?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Iqbal. My question is about, I'm sorry, I don't really have a good English, but Prof, I have a question. What differentiates a halal company audit and non-halal company audit? And is there any audit quality indicators that explain about halal, like any form of data that we can actually use to explain about halal qualities in company? I think, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so you have an audit, an halal audit by a halal certification body. So if you want to get certified by BPIPH, there will be an audit through BPIPH or Majelis Ulama Indonesia or the auditing company. So that is the halal audit. But you also have, if you establish an halal assurance system as a company, you also need to do an internal halal audit. I'm advisor to companies to get halal certified in the Indonesian halal standard or different halal standards, the international one or the Malaysian one, or whatever halal standard you think is suitable or which come out of the halal strategy. And then my team is conducting internal audits before the halal certification body comes. And I think that's important to have those process in place that before the halal certification body comes as a formal audit. It's good to develop your team that also do internal audits, and you might use of expert firms like my company LBB International also to conduct internal audits or to conduct supply chain audits before the halal certification body comes, because sometimes you have too much people at the halal management team have too much limited view or limited experience also with regard to auditing. So it might help also to have professional companies to also to participate in here to establish a more robust halal assurance system. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have still time in the middle of your presentation? Or
yeah, the last question before we move on.
From Mas Dafa. Please recite your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. In this occasion, I would like to ask to you, as we know, that recently Indonesia has just updated its halal certificate logo, and I will ask to you, in this case, is it the right step to improve the halal industry, especially in the point of view of SMEs, companies, or even the world's halal regulators? Or is the policy just creating confusion in the halal market? Gitu. Mungkin seperti itu.
Can you just to clarify, are you talking about the SMEs or the SME policy? That is the one you're referring to? Or?
No. We have launched halal logo. Do you know
halal logo?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know about our new halal logo?
Yes, I know. I saw Halal Indonesia and blue and
this wayang or something. Yeah.
I love it. It's a beautiful halal logo, beautiful new one, modern. But it is good that this is well communicated. So when I saw the announcement, I put it on my LinkedIn. Indonesia has new halal logo. And I think, but it needs to be branded well. So I hope that KNIKS, BPIPH, and other organizations take effort to communicate this to the Muslim consumer all over the world, and also to other halal certification bodies that also facilitate facilitate recognition by the Indonesia halal authority. So I think it's I love the logo. Congratulations. Now it's about sharing this good news, I think, with the world. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I think we can just continue your presentation. We have still several questions, but I think we can do it later on. Thanks.
Yeah, so we can. So please continue with putting the questions in. We will answer them at the end of my presentation. So I will be covering the last two topics on halal branding and also halal reputation management. So about halal branding, and there's the new halal logo. This is the one you're referring to. So branding halal is about labeling either a product or a restaurant, for example, as halal, but it does not mean, according to Professor Jonathan Wilson, that it's just permissible. It also communicates that the product and also its processes are religiously pure. Jonathan Wilson is a good friend of mine. He wrote the book Halal Branding. I don't know if you can see it. So that is a great book to read. I'm not sure if it's available in Indonesia already. It is available in Malaysia, but I think it's a good book to have in the library also of IPB. So it's a great book, thick book about branding halal. Great book to have. The goal from my perspective, I also wrote a chapter, one chapter in a book about halal branding, also a chapter about halal marketing. In my perspective, the goal of branding halal is to communicate to the consumer that the product is halal, which is verified by an independent halal certification body. So there are different branding options in my research. So you can do co-branding, halal ingredient branding, and halal coding. So when you do halal co-branding, you use halal, Islamic, or Syariah together with your corporate brand. So in Malaysia, McDonald's has the big yellow M. If you go to the McDonald's in Malaysia, the halal logo goes over 2 doors when you want to enter the McDonald's. The halal logo of Halal Malaysia is almost as big as the yellow M. So that is halal co-branding. Yeah. So you want to leverage the halal brand of that country for your own corporate brand. Yeah. You look at synergy advantages. A second way to show, to brand the halal is as an ingredient brand. So similar to your ISO, your HACCP, your food safety logos, your organic logo, your vegan logo, you also have a halal logo somewhere on the ingredient part of your product at the back. Or when you have a restaurant, it is on the menu, or so in your restaurant, it also shows the certificate of BPAPH is the halal logo. That's a second way to brand halal. A third way is not showing the actual halal logo, but to have the code in there on the product or service instead. For example, H and then BPAPH. So showing it's certified by BPAPH, or H vegan, or H and then the method of slaughtering and coding of the method of slaughtering. So from my perspective, there are 3 ways to brand halal. It's important also to look at the philosophical side of branding. Like in the McDonald's case, the halal logo is as big as the M. Is that wise? Is there not the risk of over-branding halal in your commercial exercises? You should be afraid not to overlook the consumer and the actual needs. Maybe it might even scare consumers away, even Muslim consumers, when the halal logo is bigger than the yellow M of McDonald's. It might also destroy also possible halal values when it is not in line maybe with the halal authenticity of the company. So what are the risks in over-branding halal in Muslim majority country like Indonesia? So when halal co-branding is used for products that might not be really healthy. So for example, products that are very high in sugar. There have been also milk powders in Indonesia that were diluted with sugar. So babies in Indonesia got diabetes too, because the product was not really type, right? Or we had also cosmetics in Malaysia where it was mixed with mercury for skin whitening. It's very effective to whiten your skin, but you only get cancer as a side effect. So that's not really type, right? So to over-brand halal when products are not really type, that is not good. Halal co-branding also is riskier for products and services where halal certification is not really essential. So I've seen in Indonesia toilet paper, which is halal certified, and fridges. Well, is that really necessary? And if you put that halal logo too big, maybe Muslims say, well, why you want to leverage on that Indonesian halal logo, right? which components of this fridge are halal, or how is that toilet paper made halal, you know. Also, it is important when you can say, our company, we are halal certified by Halal Indonesia, Indonesian Halal Certification Body, but you make use of suppliers that are not halal certified or are mixing halal with non-halal, or distributors that also doing a distribution of your products together with beer or with pork products. So it's difficult or dangerous to overbrand halal when you're not addressing the entire supply chain. You can also overbrand halal in non-Muslim countries where you're sending it to Europe. I come from Europe, from the Netherlands, and sometimes people are not really understanding what halal is about and Islam, and are afraid. So they think that halal slaughter is the same, is equal to animal cruelty. We have seen videos about slaughtering by a big knife, cows attached with ropes, pulling the legs out, and people have been seeing this and see that it's cruel, right? Also, some people are afraid that if I buy a halal product, part of that money goes to fund terrorism. So there have not always been a positive reaction also to Islamic symbols. So if in the halal logo you have always the halal in Arabic written, so that might not be always attractive to use in certain Muslim or non-Muslim countries where halal might be more sensitive. So instead of leaving it out, and what now happens a lot, that Muslim countries are exporting to non-Muslim countries like Europe, and they take away the halal logo. So instead of taking it away, it might be better to do halal coding then. So if you as Indonesian go to Holland, the Netherlands for your holidays, you can still recognize, hey, this product is halal certified, instead of not knowing it's halal. Halal co-branding is still important, in particular for food and nutritional product, but also cosmetics that goes through the mouth or on the mouth, like lipstick. So then halal co-branding is used, but they have to make sure that halal and tayyib are well addressed. Yeah? Also in the supply chain. Halal ingredient branding, I think, can be used for Muslim majority countries. Also, I think that should be maybe the main reference also, halal ingredient branding for when you get halal certified, to see it as part of the ingredient logo, halal ingredient branding. Secondly, you can do this for non-Muslim countries like Thailand and Singapore, where there actually is halal regulation by the government. So Thailand and Singapore, you can also use halal ingredient branding, no problem there. So these are some halal branding strategies that you could use. So for building a strong brand in Muslim markets, it requires, I think, careful planning and a long-term investment also of your brand. So it is, from my perspective, also an ongoing investment, a steady stream of consistent efforts to build your brand. And then we talk about the element of building halal brand equity. Yeah? So halal brand equity is an important concept when you're building your halal authenticity out there. It's about the added Islamic value endowed to products and services. It's about also how the Islamic values you're giving to the Muslim consumer. So it is an important value to monitor also for brand owners. So what are some examples of halal brand equity assets? So from my research, there are three important halal equity asset classes. So first of all, you have the halal commodities. So these are agriculture commodities that can also be certainly halal certified, and it should be promoted also. And also Pak Jacoby mentioned that when you want to export agriculture products like palm oil, rice, coffee beans or cocoa beans, get it halal certified. Share the Indonesian halal logo with the world. The second important halal brand equity asset, if you have a company, you create a new halal brand from scratch. A lot of effort is required, important. So as we have Indo Food, which has been a brand, I think there's even a bigger potential than it is already. Warda, as cosmetics companies, they build it from scratch. Great success stories, but it's hard work. You can also look at acquired halal assets. So, for example, you buy McDonald's or Starbucks or Unilever food division, and then you take over that company, and then globally you get all the outlets, all the production facilities, the restaurant outlets halal certified in the Halal Indonesia. So you halalize the entire brand globally. A lot of potential in there, I think, acquired halal assets by buying over big brands from non-OIC countries and to halalize it in the Halal Indonesia. That might be one strategy of the Indonesian government to share the new Halal Indonesia logo all over the world. For example, if they buy over Starbucks, for example. So that might be an opportunity, I think, for Indonesia. And I also see that a lot of big Islamic banks have a lot of funds. So instead of putting it into property developments in the UK or Australia, why not put that money in creating the new halal brands of the world? I did research on halal brand positioning. So I think there are two ways to position a halal brand, more like a halal product, to ensure the Syariah compliance in the product, but also the supply chain, maybe even value chain in future. And the way that Jonathan Wilson describes it as a halal brand, where it is positioned, signaled, and communicated to be aligned to its values, norms, and ideals, even of the Muslim faith. So I think there are two perspectives to halal branding. So Nestle on the right, they take a perspective to halal brand. They even organize a Nestle halal forum even. So the halal brand positioning, from my perspective, is about crafting that corporate image in the market. There are two important questions you should ask yourself in terms of brand positioning. First of all, does the brand originate from an Islamic country or non-Islamic country? Indo Food is from an Islamic country. Nestle is from a non-Islamic country, from Switzerland. Secondly, how do you position your brand as a halal brand or halal product? So in my book, you see this graphic, and it's interesting to note that you see examples of brands in all quadrants. So it's not necessarily that it's good or bad. They're not really good or bad location, but you have to understand the impact. So companies that are positioned as a halal brand, you have to make sure also that your supply chain halal is well addressed, that your products are also halal in type. So that is important. You see also products or brands from ORC countries that are positioned as a halal product. So for example, Emirates airline, if you fly business class or tourist class, they might serve you alcohol beverage at the flight. So that's an example of an airline that is focused on the halal product. Indo Food is not necessarily an Islamic food as they position themselves. It's food for everyone, but it is also halal certified. So there are examples of brands. Warda, on the other hand, is a more halal brand as compared to Indo Food. So you see in the commercial outreach, in the marketing, in also in Malaysia on TV, you have commercials from Warda. You always see there a lady, at least one lady with a headscarf. Sometimes next to the lady with a headscarf, lady without the headscarf, but it's always a more Sharia compliance, what is being shared there in those commercials. So you see examples I think in all quadrants. It's good to realize what is the impact of that location on your branding and marketing outreach and your supply chain. So that is about halal branding. I want to to take the rest of the time to look at halal risk and reputation management. So I will start with a little bit of theory. After that, I will share with you some examples of crisis management. And it might also be interesting for some questions from the students. So what is halal risk management? So it is often assumed that once you have a halal assurance system in place, which describes your basic processes, also how you deal with non-compliances, that it is good enough to manage a halal issue or a halal crisis. What you see, however, is that a lot of companies are still using the conventional crisis manual to treat a halal issue the same as I find a piece of metal in my product, a traditional contamination issue. A halal issue is not the same as a contamination issue by companies. So you need to address halal far beyond the halal assurance system. In fact, you need a good prevention component. You need to understand your halal supply chain. You need to have a proper halal supply chain blueprint, how halal is organized by your suppliers, by your distributors, also until retail. You need to audit your halal supply chain. You also look at how can we find smart collaborations in your supply chain to create a more robust supply chain for a brand owner. Secondly, you also need to look at mitigation. So mitigation is all about when there is a halal issue, what is your plan of action? So next to robustness, you also need to create a resilient supply chain. In here, once there's a halal issue, you need to quickly identify during an audit if there is an actual halal issue or is it not halal related. Set up a cross-functional team to address the issue, the incident, and also roll out a risk mitigation and communication plan. So that needs to be pre-drafted. In case there is an issue, you need to have a dedicated plan to communicate the right message out, to take the right corrective actions to isolate the incident, to minimize the impact and avoid it becomes a crisis, right? Which you want to avoid. The third component, which you also need to prepare, is about crisis management, recovery, we call it. So if there is an issue becomes a crisis, you need to escalate it to a higher level. You also need to have a blueprint for risk recovery and a communication plan. So if it becomes a crisis, what is then the message you reach out? What are then the actions you need to do to minimize the bad effect on your brand? You need to protect and rebuild also your halal trust, your Islamic values, and your entire network, including your suppliers, and also looking at your distributors. We also need to, in recovery, to evaluate what went wrong, right? What can we learn in order to create a more robust supply chain, or to create also more resilience, right? to have better halal issue management. It's important to realize that there's a difference between the image from your brand by the Muslim consumer versus the actual reputation. An image can change very quickly by something in the news, or the importance now of climate change, there might be a crisis incident with another brand that might also affect even your brand. So halal image is one thing. The halal reputation is a more rational assessment, needs to have a far more forward perspective also, where a halal reputation looking at what has happened to the history over time, but also are you able to protect the halal integrity in future? I've done some research on creating a measurement of halal reputation, and I created the Halal Reputation Index. So if you're interested, You can find it on the Journal of Islamic Marketing. One of my publications are on measuring corporate halal reputation. So I created about 10 indicators to measure the corporate reputation of companies. The first area is halal authenticity of the company is measured through, is there a halal strategy, a halal policy in place by the company? Also looking at the strategic alignment, internal alignment within the company, but also within the entire supply chain, alignment of halal with the supply chain partners like suppliers, distributors, retailers. The halal maturity of the company, the evolution of halal. So at what stage is my company? Still a halal product or already halal supply chain? There might be a gap with the market you're serving. Also, the trustworthiness of halal certification bodies is important. So in Holland, we have about 15 different halal certification bodies. I can go in Holland to the Chamber of Commerce and say, I'm Marco. I would like to set up a halal certification body, call it Marco Halal. And then the Chamber of Commerce says, nice idea, Marco. He types in a computer. And within 5 minutes, you have the official certificate of Marco Halal Certification Body from the Netherlands. That is very different from the Indonesian halal certification system, which is based on the HAS 23000, the new halal logo, BPAPH as organization, different auditing firms in Indonesia to do the auditing. That's very different. So halal, Marco Halal would be ranked very low here on the trustworthiness of certification as compared to BPAPH, as you can imagine. So that have implications for the halal reputation of your company. Also, the messages by company and supply chain partners are important. So is there a halal reputation strategy? Do you have a blueprint, a halal risk and mitigation blueprints in place? We have a blueprint also for halal crisis management I shared before. That will determine if you're good at the right actions when there's a halal issue and protecting your license to operate as a brand owner and your corporate reputation. Finally, what are the messages by external stakeholders? How are you connected to Muslim communities? What is the current media coverage also when you type in your brand name and halal? Is it positive or does it show some negative sides of your brand? And also, what is your company track record? So you might have a halal issue. What was the impact? Was it positive? Was it negative or very negative? And so all these components have implications for your corporate reputation. And from my perspective, this is one of the key performance indicators brand owners should have to be measured by top management. Next to the halal reputation index, you should also measure the license to operate. And these are in principle the same components of the halal reputation index, but related to the halal market requirements. So you have your license to operate for the Indonesian market based on the halal market requirements for Indonesia, like halal certification mandatory by October 2024. A new development might change the license to operate of companies serving the Indonesian market. Yeah. Your license to operate for Malaysia, your license to operate for the UAE or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia if you're serving those markets. So this is a measurement per country. Yeah. Important to measure. So finally, I would like to share with you some examples of 2 halal crises that happened over the past years. So first of all, the Cadbury halal crisis. So back in 2014, it was leaked out by the Ministry of Health of Malaysia that there was a possible contamination incident of porcine contamination with 2 Cadbury chocolate bars. Well, this was inside information that leaked out of the Ministry of Health. And Ministry of Health in Malaysia is not in charge of halal, so it was strange. So it went viral. And and it became a waterfall of negative reaction by Muslims, also Muslim organizations. So Cadbury, of course, straight away took those particular 2 Cadbury chocolate bars out of the supermarkets, collected them, and also communicated that they are halal certified by the Malaysian Halal Authority, JAKIM, and they will do everything to facilitate inspection, but they didn't contaminate those products. So only after 10 days, it even took 10 days before the Halal Authority, JAKIM, gave a public statement that the chocolate bars were never contaminated with porcine, and that is halal to eat. And the presentation is the Malaysian Halal Authority was behind a big mountain of chocolates, and they were eating the chocolates. Cadbury is all good. So during that time, the Halal certificate was suspended for 17 days. Cadbury made different announcements, also sharing in the media that the Cadbury products are all good to go. They created special videos on YouTube to share the Halal certification system of Cadbury, but damage was done. So there were even people demonstrating at the factory. They want to burn down the factory in Malaysia. It was a very painful incident for Cadbury, and they said, well, we didn't do anything wrong. It was a rumor that went out, and it was very painful. So they lost about $25 million in sales, and for my calculation, probably ×3 in terms of corporate reputation damages. Very expensive. So it was not only an incident that affected the sales in the Malaysian market, but also Indonesian market and other countries in the Middle East and Africa. IKEA also had an incident in Malaysia. So IKEA is a furniture supplier, but they also have quite nice restaurants. So they also had an issue. The Malaysian Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs and Health Ministry and Selangor Religious Affairs Departments raided the IKEA restaurant. They were notified by a former employee of IKEA. It can go like that. That the sausages which were sold at the restaurant were not halal certified. Well, they were halal certified, but their halal certificate was expired. So it was not that those sausages were haram or non-halal. They were halal sausages, but they were not anymore carrying the right halal certificate from the Malaysian authorities. So what IKEA did, they straight away closed their IKEA restaurant. They did ritual cleansing of the floors, of all the spoons, the cups, the glasses. They had also changed all staff with Muslim staff in the kitchen and service. They had also special prayers by an imam also to open again also the restaurant. And they also publicly apologized by the CEO of IKEA that the CEO was very sorry about this incident, and that they also removed also that supplier of that sausages, and they announced publicly that the supplier of the sausages was removed as the supplier to IKEA, apologizes the CEO, and now the restaurant is fuller than ever. So you see two companies, Cadbury and IKEA, both had an Halal Excellence. So they take both of them took immediate action, but they took different action. So it's also good to share, to learn from those experiences, what actions were taken by one brand, what the other, and which brand came out better, you think. So these are important, I think, case studies to learn from, and also to see how what you can do also in future. That's why it's also important to have those blueprints for issue management and crisis management, to have your actions well thought over. So if you have them prepared already in documents, you can execute faster. So this was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, find some more information on my website, halalbusinessmanagement.com, which also shows the masterclass I'm organizing in Malaysia and Indonesia. If you're interested in my book, through IPB, we are giving 20% discount on the book with the code SOC20 from my publisher, Routledge. The links you can also find on halalbusinessmanagement.com. And I also have a simple YouTube channel with some videos about different aspects of business management. Thank you very much. I look forward for your questions.
Thank you, Prof. Tieman. Very interesting question, very interesting lectures. Yeah, and I think you should continue to other questions. I think from Mas Naufal, but a short question, yeah, and Mas Ilham and Mbak Syafika, yeah. Yes, I think we just accumulate the question first, and then Prof. Tieman can answer the question.
No.
Please.
Okay. Firstly, thank you for the presentation, Professor. But this is my question have been answered recently, so I will change it. May you still answer the question, sir?
Sure. Yeah. Yes. Continue.
Okay. I have a question in halal industries. In the recent presentation, you said that halal industries are fragmented. They are competing instead of collaborate. And my question is, how can be multiple countries collaborate to create an international halal industries instead of compete? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mas Ilham, please ask.
Yes. Thanks, Professor. Thanks, Professor, for the presentation. I have any question? I have any question. Based on the presentation earlier, halal industry need to be balanced with the nature and how to develop halal industry in the world. Well, nowadays many forests are cut down. Thanks, Professor.
Come again, Manny? Your question?
Based on the presentation earlier, halal industry need to be balanced with the nature and how to develop halal industry in the world. While nowadays many forests are cut down.
So your question related to sustainable development goals, yeah, perhaps, yeah, Mas Ilham. So about
Yes.
Climate change, yeah. Okay, and the last the question from Mbak Syafika, it is also related to halal logo. You can just recite your question.
Okay, thank you, Pak Iqbal, for the opportunity. Also, thank you for Prof. Tieman for the presentation. Okay, actually, my question is kind of similar with the previous question. It is still about our new halal logo. Okay, I want to know your perspective because the responses about the new halal logo in the social media, there are so many people who have a contrary with the change of our halal logo. As long as I know, the reason is that because of the look and the philosophy of the new logo are not representing the halal itself. And also compared to the other countries' halal logo, our logo is kind of different with the other because they still use the original Arabic writing, but our new halal logo only contain the Arabic calligraphy. So maybe I would like to know from your perspective, maybe from the brand awareness or the marketing and branding strategy, because I think the new halal logo can influence our consumer behavior. Maybe that's all. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Great question. Thank you.
You can answer first.
All right, so I will answer those three. So the first question was, industries are fragmented, so there are a lot of micro SMEs in Indonesian SMEs. So how to collaborate? So I think the halal parks are important vehicles. So like Modern Halal Valley, they are creating an Halal Valley society where they create that collaboration infrastructure. So I think there are advantages for SMEs that want to do exports to international markets to locate themselves in halal parks or collaborate with halal parks because they have an ecosystem to facilitate collaboration. I know in the Asian culture, collaboration with your competitors is something very difficult and sensitive. So I think it's also important that in education, like IPB University is also sharing the concept of collaboration. That is so important. We have the concept of ummah, right, in Islam. So how does it apply to business? And I think that knowledge is not very well known. So let's create a better understanding of Islamic principles in business. So I think there's an opportunity. Great question. Thank you so much. Then the second question was the relationship between halal, climate change, and the UN Sustainability Development Goals. A little bit political, I think, the climate change agenda and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. But a lot of countries have committed themselves. So if you believe in them or not, it becomes reality when you are doing international business. That's something to realize. The good news is that from Islam, we have guidelines on the relationship. We can use sustainable energy. So in this book, they talk about energy from hell and energy from heaven. Energy from heaven is about wind energy and solar energy. And Indonesia is blessed. There is a lot of sun, so make use of that. It's talking about water. And water is a very natural, important, and very expensive natural resource. So you have to be, it's precious, need to be protected. So water treatment is important, and avoiding polluting waters is extremely important. Waste minimization is important. So these are important principles which were measured here. In my evolution of halal, I say that sustainability is important, which are part of level 4, halal value chain. You can already address, although your company might be in level 2, you can already address certain components of the halal business value chain in environmental and sustainability. There's no wrong by doing that. Thank you.
Okay.
The last question. Sorry.
Yeah. Last question. Our last several question or just one question?
Yeah. So the last question from the lady was on the halal logo. So what do you think about the halal logo? I think it is a refreshing halal logo. If you look at the logo of Emirates airline, it also has that kind of calligraphy also used in their brand. So I think it is a smart move, and it might not create also a negative perception of a halal logo in non-Muslim countries. So this logo would allow maybe also to use this halal logo also in non-OIC countries, more safer as compared to the Arabic logo, which might be difficult in Europe. So it might be a very smart move. These are big decisions. I understand that there's always a different level of taste, but these are long-term decisions made. You know, the change of halal logo is something for the coming 10, 20 years. So this is well thought over. Give it a chance, I would say, and support it. So I think it's important that there's now a promotion needs to go on to support that logo, make people aware, and also promote this overseas.
Okay.
So new Halal logo needs to be supported also by good promotion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There is also several questions from Rahma. I think the same as from Halal Industry and SDGs. I think no need to have questions. But there is also a question from, is interesting, a question from Mbak Haifa. It is related to Korean, Korean products in Indonesia. I think Mbak Haifa, you can recite your question, and then from Mbak Fiona, this related to about her curiosity, on how view on Muslim community, and from I think from from Alan, from Alan, you can also ask a question, from 3 questions, just recite your question from.
Thank you, Professor, for the presentation. It's more opening my mindset about Halal certification. So my question is, in world nowadays, many trends are booming by social media, and it becomes lifestyle that affect many millennial Muslims. And for example, is the Korean trend. It is from the Korean drama or on TikTok or YouTube and social media and others. And it affects the decision of millennial Muslims to consume many things from the trend. But the problem, many of Korean products, such as maybe as cosmetics, doesn't have a Halal certification. So how to make millennial Muslims aware for the Halal certification in cosmetics too, Prof? Thanks.
And continue to Mbak Fiona.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Iqbal. First of all, good morning, Professor Marco. Thank you very much for giving us insightful and giving us a new perspective on Halal business management, especially in the international. And thanks also to Mr. Iqbal for inviting Mr. Marco. Mr. Iqbal talked a lot about you and your interest in Halal industry. And we're so excited about this guest lecture and glad to see you here in this virtual room. So my question is, first, I'm curious about how the views of the world community, especially non-Muslim communities, how do they view this halal branding? Is it like something special and they are interested, or is it just standard in general? And the second question is, if there will be a new halal sector in the future, for example, the halal renewable energy sector, do you think it is important for halal standard as the first step for the new renewable energy product or other innovation product? If so, is the urgency of halal standardization only as a marketing strategy, or is it really needed for the benefit of the producer, consumer, and natural commodities? Thank you in advance for the opportunity. I hope you don't mind answering my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last question from Mas Alan. Alan.
Okay. Thank you for your lecture, sir. We know that blockchain can go a long way in maintaining trust in halal products. Maybe for food product sector, indeed there are some critical points such as ingredients and who is slaughtering the animals. And tell us, what about halal tourism sector? Like what just a typing point or critical points on halal tourism that can be helped by using blockchain? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for your question. Let me just answer them one by one. So yeah, the Korean movies, series are very popular, and I think that that a lot of Korean products are available in Indonesia. I've seen that more and more Korean products are being halal certified by the brand owners. I'm not sure if it's how to make the consumer aware that not all products are halal. I think there's more for the regulatory authorities of Indonesia to make halal certification mandatory, which they have done for the food. Also, I think it's good to communicate to them also that the halal certification for cosmetics will be mandatory also, I think about 5 years later or 7 years later after that. So I think it's important that the government plays a role. Halal Corner is an important organization in Indonesia, liaising with the consumer to make aware consumers about the halal integrity of products that are not halal certified. So Halal Corner might be something good to follow if you are a concerned consumer. The second question on the view of halal branding, I'm happy to see to hear that there's good news about me, my work. Thank you, Dr. Iqbal, for sharing that. Yeah, halal branding. So how does the Muslim or how does the non-Muslim countries see that? It differs per country. So like in Europe, the non-Muslim consumer is quite negative about Islam. So they hear a lot of negative stories about Islam. In Asia, Thailand and Singapore, Vietnam is different. So also Australia, New Zealand look different at halal. So they say, well, halal is an opportunity to sell to. So let's facilitate. Whereas in Europe, they said, well, it's difficult. We want to separate state and church. Government doesn't want to get involved in halal. So they don't educate the industries in Europe. So you see that the government plays an important role, either positive or negative, to support the halal industry in a country and also the perception towards Islam and halal. So I've been trying to do some education also in Europe, in Germany, in Holland, about trying to correct the perception about Islam. A lot of work is needed, I can tell you. In your second area, you see, second question, you see that a lot of new sectors are being developed, are halalized. So we had the fridge to be halal certified, paint, toilet paper, socks, cat food. I think halal authorities have to be very conservative in introducing new areas that can be halal certified, because you're right. I mean, if I have a brand and a company with a product or service, if I get it halal certified, I have an advantage over my competitor that is not halal certified. So it's often achieved by differentiating themselves by halal certified. So I think it is the Islamic authority, BPAPA, needs to decide, okay, which sectors we think it is important to protect the halal integrity for Muslims, for their products and services. I think it's a decision by the halal authority, which should be taken conservative. Because if you're creating a halal logo on socks and you're exporting it to other countries, you might make the risk of making halal ridiculous. Why does it need to have a halal certificate? Can't explain. Or it might not be allowed by other Muslim countries when they import it. They say, well, you have to remove the halal logo of your product because we don't allow you to put an halal product and halal logo on a fridge or a cat food, for example. And so you might also run into trouble with halal regulation in Muslim majority countries. So I hope that halal authorities are very conservative on that matter. I think if you're looking at food, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, restaurants, and hotels, would be good already to get it done already properly, would be already good at this point in time. Final question on blockchain. So I think blockchain, I was one of the first academics to look into that blockchain related to halal. You might have read some academic papers on halal blockchain. I think it has a lot of potential if it improves the halal integrity, but also for halal certification bodies to do a simplified audit. In case there's a halal incident, blockchain would reveal quickly the issue and would be allowing it to minimize the impact of the issue, isolate the issue. We have to be careful also not use blockchain to make it mandatory. We have to protect the micro SMEs, the SMEs in Indonesia. We have to help the SMEs and micro SMEs to serve the halal industry. And by making it mandatory to invest in IT, we might create a lot of hardship. And from the Holy Quran, we learn that God doesn't want to create unnecessary hardship. So why are you? So we have to be careful with that. Blockchain is also sometimes used in relationship to virtual currencies, which might have an element of speculation in there. And I've seen some examples of halal blockchains with a kind of halal cryptocurrency. And there are different interpretations if halal or if cryptocurrency is halal. So I think we have to be very careful with a cryptocurrency that can be used or misused for money laundering or speculation purposes. So that is my side on blockchain. I think IT has a lot of advantages, including blockchain, but we have to use it in the right way and not creating hardship for the smaller players to contribute in the halal sector, because the biggest players in the halal industry are the SMEs in Indonesia and also other countries, and we have to protect them foremost. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Tieman. I think our time is now over, and I'm sorry that not all of your question can be discussed and answered, but I will forward to Professor Tieman, from Mas Fadil, to Fadil here, and Mbak Rahma, but the question from Mbak Rahma is already answered, but I will forward to Professor Tieman, and perhaps you can answer later on. And honestly, I cannot have any special wrap-ups from our lecture, because all our materials are important, Professor Tieman, and I think is really insightful for us about halal evolution of halal, halal certification, halal supply chain, and halal value chain. Halal branding is also important, our logo, and also halal risk and reputation management. But I think the clear message from Professor Tieman, Indonesia should be largest halal producer. Halal is not static. Halal, there is a maturity stage, but the problem is, and the big question is, that are we ready, for halal excellence, the motivation for us, but the motivation for us and for you as young students, that Professor Tieman mentioned that halal business management should be the one of a curriculum of the university. And I think you as the students are lucky to have this lecture, including this halal business management lecture from our respective guest lecture, Professor Tieman. Thank you, Professor Tieman, for your interesting lectures on halal. And now I, with KNIKS and also BAPNAS, our national board planning, and also with Bank Indonesia, now drafting a master plan for halal industry. It is to put in our RGP and our RPGMN, is our national long-term development plan 2020 to 2045, and our national medium term 2023 2028, to put how our halal industry plan to put in our national plan. And I think it is also important, and the actor, I think, should be as the students. We just put our international plan in 2045 is as an actor to have to learn, to act, and to play as an important role to develop halal industry product in Indonesia. Professor Tieman, thank you for your interesting lectures, and I think you can have a half or 1 minute closing statement before we close our lecture.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Iqbal. It's a great honor to be presenting. So 180 people here listening to my talk and discussing. I think is great. I think IPB is a great example of sharing that knowledge to the world. Halal Excellence is a process, so it's hard work, and it takes years to go to the different stages. So it's important to realize that it's not a quick win. So it's important, I think, to understand that halal goes beyond halal certification, to learn more about halal branding, and we are lucky that there are now more publications about this topic. So Dr. Iqbal has been contributing to much research in this important area. I've been very privileged working with him. We are currently working on a paper. And I think there are a lot of opportunities also for Indonesians to go into the halal industry. And I've seen it in Malaysia. I've been working in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia also. So I'm currently their board member of a company in Saudi Arabia. So there are a lot of opportunities in the halal industry. Indonesia has the benefits of being a great country in agriculture. So you have a lot of rich agriculture soil. You can plant products. You have big population where you can create products and services for the world. You have great products. So we love your food. So bring that food to the world. We love your batik. Today I don't wear batik, but I wear Indonesian batik. Bring those products to the world. You have great cosmetics, Varda, great products. So there's an opportunity for the new generation to create new halal brands, new halal equity assets. Do that. Don't be humble. Create your products and share them to the world. I think you have a great new halal logo, Halal Indonesia. So I think the road is there for innovation and entrepreneurs. And we need more halal entrepreneurs to bring halal to the world and get those basic skills, understand about halal branding and marketing so that you avoid making mistakes and creating a strong halal brands. Thank you so much. It was a great honor. May peace be upon you. Please do keep in touch on halalbusinessmanagement.com or my personal email at marco@lbbinternational.com. You should get LinkedIn and please connect to LinkedIn. I'm there and most pleased to connect and look forward to meeting you in Indonesia. Terima kasih banyak.
Thanks, Prof. Tieman. And give our applause to Professor Tieman. With reaction and applause to all of us. Thank you, and I will give my turn to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Professor Tieman, for the knowledge, and thank you, Mr. Iqbal, for being the moderator. Hopefully, the lesson that has been conveyed can be useful for all of us. And to show our gratitude, we would like to give Professor Tieman a certificate. We hope you can accept it with a great heart. Please, operator. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Tieman. We're so grateful to have you here. And next, there will be a photo session. So for all participants, please turn on your camera and show us your best smile. Okay, we will wait a second for all the participants to turn on their camera. And for the operator, can the operator help me take the photo?
Okay.
Okay, there are 7 slides here on my screen. Maybe we'll take 2 photos for each slide. Start with slide 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay, again. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Okay, slide 2. 3, 2, 1. Again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, slide 3. 3, 2, 1. Again. 3, 2, 1. Okay, slide 4. Okay, because there's no one opening their camera here, maybe we'll take one photo only. 3, 2, 1. Okay, on the next slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay, next slide. 3, 2, 1. And the last slide. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you very much for all participants joining in the photo session. So the main lecture has been delivered and the photo session has been done. And that means this guest lecture has come to an end. I would like to express our gratitude to all of the lecturers and participants who have joined today's guest lecture. And I also would like to ask your forgiveness as you have found many mistakes and inconvenience from me as the master of ceremony. I hope we can all learn many things today. And let's close today's guest lecture by saying hamdalah, alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, and doa kifarah majelis. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu alla ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.